Welcome to Soltron. This is the video review for the Tobot Galaxy Detectives Rocket and Sergeant Justice, the Chinese versions. And here's a size comparison. You can see they're bigger than their mini versions, and they're about the same size as the Metal Cardbot S figures. Yeah, it is cool that they're in scale with each other. I really do enjoy that. We'll start with Sergeant Justice. This guy was one of my first Galaxy Detective robots from the Korean Tobot, and he was, I think, maybe about 11 inches tall. He was just an enormous figure, some of the biggest robots. You can see he carries over pretty well. He's got most of his paint apps, but he's clearly missing some paint apps, which make him look a little bit more plain. But for the most part, he's a good representation. And then the big issue is that the dog head is really narrow looking, so they made him look very skinny. And we can get a close-up of this head sculpt. And as you can see, you can still see his mouth and nose are in there, so the details are there. It's just all the paint details are gone, so the top of his cap is no longer white. He's missing his emblem in his cap, his chin strap. So a lot of missing paint detail, but you can see his face still sort of has those details. And then if we compare him with his mini version, I do like that they used the translucent plastic, which the mini version didn't have. And the mini version is missing a lot of the paint apps too. I painted these black just to start getting those paint apps back into place. But oddly, the head sculpt actually has more paint detail than this guy, which is very strange. So yeah, the mini version actually wins on the paint apps. And then the dog head has no paint apps, whereas this one does have those gold accents. So it looks like they just cheaped out on the gold paint on this guy. Oh yeah, and then this one has the gold belt buckle, but this one doesn't. So really weird choices on where they're applying the paint. I'm not sure what the plan was there. An annoying thing about this figure was he did not have head articulation. It was disabled for some reason, even though the original figure did have head articulation. I don't know why. They put it on like a rectangular peg, so I had to take this whole body apart and just trim out that peg. And then I did do like a little mod where you can spread out his shoulders a little more, just for articulation's sake. He is missing a lot of articulation, but so was the original figure. He does have spring ratchets, 360 on the shoulders here. He does have, he is missing, it looks like, let's see. The original figure was able to do outward motion on the shoulders, but this guy doesn't really have any. He does have like one click inward motion, which is not useful. He doesn't have the bicep swivel the original figure had. He does have spring ratchets on the elbows, and he does have the wrist pivot right there for transformation. He doesn't have waist articulation. He does have universal joints on the hips. They only kick out this far though. And he does have kind of a hidden joint, is the knee here. It takes a little bit of force, but you can get 90 degrees. And he does have toe point for transformation. So just like the original figure, he is very limited in his articulation, but even more limited than the original. So definitely gonna have to mod this guy and give him some of those articulations he's missing. Oh yeah, and he does come with his signature shotgun, which is very cool. And you just fold that up to get that ready for transformation. I wonder if it's folded up, maybe it becomes just a regular pistol. You can kind of pretend, I guess. Well, no, you can't because it doesn't fit in his hands because his fingers are in the way. He doesn't come with his dog toe key. This is actually just molded in his chest now. So you just fold that down. And I think that actually looks kind of good with his dog head folded down as well. That's not a bad look. But transformation on this guy is very simple. You just point these shoulder pads up and then get his arms in place. You're going to fold down his hands. His head doesn't articulate up or down anymore. It just stays where it's at. And you're going to get this back panel in place. You're going to unpeg the front panel. You're going to point the toes, and then you can kind of, well, the gun should come in last. And then you're just going to telescope the legs down, which is an old bit of transformation that a lot of figures are removing, but telescoping legs still solid. And there you go, you get nice simple car mode, actually a very complicated looking car mode, but you get there in a very simple way. And then to get his gun in place, you can see there's these kind of tabs here. You kind of just shove it in place and it'll stay right there for weapon storage. So that's one done. Looks very good. I really do enjoy this police car mode. And then how does he look with the cop from the other precinct? Blue cop, pretty good actually. They scale pretty well together. Blue cop is a little fatter. This car looks more like a muscle car. It looks more aggressive. Blue cop looks a little more friendly. But yeah, they actually are pretty much the same scale, which is very cool. All right, and let's turn it over to Rocket, or I guess his name might be Shuttle now. You can see he's missing a ton of his paint apps, so he's missing a lot of the black paint primarily, which that'll be an easy fix for me. I can just start brushing that in. But mostly he still has a lot of good color separation, so he's looking pretty good overall. And then we can see he still has all the good details of his head sculpt. Could definitely use some black paint to bring it out. He does still have this visor piece, which is a whole separate piece of plastic, but it does not slide down. I even disassembled his head and the entire visor is there. And for some reason they disabled the sliding down gimmick, which is very odd because the mini version still lets that visor slide down. So I don't understand why they remove that for the bigger version. It's very strange. Again, a lot of odd choices being made. And you can see the mini version just has a lot more black plastic going on. So they kind of inverted the colors, whereas this one has a lot more white. I think the paint scheme is definitely better on this mostly white version. So, and then it looks like there'll have to be some white paint here. But there's just like some little accents of white that need to be added in, but not too bad. He doesn't come with any accessories, unfortunately. A difference from his DX version is that this doesn't collapse better into his forearm, but that's kind of expected. And he doesn't have any head articulation, neither did the DX version. He does have these weird elbows, which kind of the DX version also had, which gives you about 90 degrees, not very good. And then he does have these nice universal joints for the hips still, which gives you a good amount of outward motion, which is pretty much never useful, let's be honest. He's got a full forward kick, almost a full backward kick, and he does have nice 90 in the knees, and then nothing in the toes. So, and then he does have like a little bit of outward motion here. So he does have a little bit of articulation, but without a head sculpt or anything, or a neck joint, he's not really going to get any dynamic poses. And he does have this pivot for transformation. So pretty simple looking figure, but I still like him. And then to transform him, you're just going to fold in his fists. You're going to rotate his arms all the way behind him because his back is actually going to become the front of the shuttle. Oh yeah, and he does have hip swivel, so I should point that out. Normally you would lower his visor, but he doesn't do that for some reason. And then you rotate his waist around. You're going to clip his legs together. You're going to point these front of the shuttle sections forward. And then you just have him bend his knees and collapse into himself. And then there's these little holes right here, and those just post in just to give him a little bit of extra stability. And then you just make the tail fin point up. And there you get his shuttle mode, which is pretty solid looking shuttle, to be honest. I always liked this guy's mode, and now that he's in a smaller size, he's definitely more enjoyable, I think. And then you can see he's very clean from the bottom as well. So really great kid's toy, and he does have landing gear here, as well as here and here on the waist. So yeah, I highly recommend these. I got these both from AliExpress. They were about $26 each, which is a pretty good price. They did come with these instructions. I got the version that didn't come with the boxes because that's a little bit extra. But yeah, I recommend these figures, especially now that they fit with metal cardbot. I just love that these lines kind of all fit together. I just like that they scale now. But yeah, that's about it. I'll see you in the next one.